Hi there. I'm Douglas Holzmeier, also known as Doug Daniels in the world of radio broadcasting. And I am the author of You Are God's Best Idea, Divine Acceptations and Living the Undeniable Life. The book includes inspirational stories from undeniable lives. I wrote that book in 2010 and 2011 when I was out of work at my radio job in Tri-Cities, Washington. And I published it through Balboa Press, which is a subsidiary of Hay House. Of course, Hay House being the number one by far publisher of metaphysical books, spiritual books. Marianne Williamson, the late great Wayne Dyer, just about everybody releases their book through Hay House. And I thought, why not? I am a metaphysical person. I've always believed that. I always believed that there was something else going on here. And if you've been attracted to this particular episode, which, by the way, is the first one I've done sort of in a semi-live way. I'm recording this on July 24th, 2023, and I will upload it following its completion. But most of what I've uploaded in the past has been chapters of my book and recorded seminars. So I'm going to get into the groove. I'm going to start doing and sharing what I wrote in the book in this fashion. Because after all, I was in radio for 43 years. I'm a broadcaster first and foremost, and a spiritual, metaphysical guru secondly. But I'm God's best idea primarily. And what I write in the book over and over again is this: you are divine and important, needed and necessary, loved and the beloved. You are God's best idea. If we believe that God created all that is, from a single blade of grass to blue whales and the earth and the sun and the stars, in terms of life and intelligence life, as far as we know at this time, subject to change, we are the most creative and intelligent of what God, he, she, it created. Now, there's some people that think that dolphins and whales are more smart because their brains are bigger. And, they might be. But in terms of being able to express the God idea and God consciousness, we have hands. We do great things with these hands. And this ability to reason when we choose to speak, to create languages, to create great art, science, medicine, so on and so forth. So we are the hands and the eyes and the voice of God when we behave and act out in godlike ways. And what are the attributes of God? Well, off the top of my head, we believe that God is kind, powerful, loving, first and foremost. And if we believe God are all these great and beautiful things, and we are the direct creations thereof, then we, indeed you, are those things too. We're kind until we're taught not to be kind. We love everybody and everything until we learn to be suspicious of others. We, even as adults who have been soiled by decades of living in hatred and scorn, when there's an automobile accident or somebody falls, the first thing that we do is go to that person's aid. We don't ask them what party they vote for, what faith they do or don't recognize. We don't ask them how old they are. We don't ask them if there's anything they can do for us. We just spring into action automatically. And our first thought when we see a bunny is to hug it. Our first thought when we see a cow is, if we're familiar with cows, is to pet it or go, wow, look, cows. Our first thought isn't, yum, steak. And I don't want to make this about veganism or anything like that. I'm just saying that from the beginning, our nature is to nurture. It isn't to kill. It isn't to hate. It isn't to make judgments about. It just isn't. So I reject the idea of original sin. I believe we have original blessing. Nobody that I know who is sane approaches a baby or a toddler or a child and go, ooh, look at that evil entity. We just don't do that. And if you do, see a psychiatrist, okay? So sometimes things are just self-evident, and I believe in inherent divinity. We are inherently divine, which means that the thing that made us, God, however you want to label it, the universe, energy can be used for good things. It can be used for bad things. This is just so simple. It's amazing how difficult it is for others who have been indoctrinated. Okay, so I'm winging this. I didn't practice this. For those who have been taught something else, and I grew up in a church that had some really weird and unusual things given to me. I was told when I was a 6-year-old, if I was praying with my hands in a downward direction, I was praying to the devil. No, I was just tired because it was 8 o'clock in the morning and we were at Mass at 8 o'clock in the morning at 6 years of age. The kids are tired. They're not praying to the devil. They wouldn't even know who the devil is, allegedly, unless you told us. Think about that. We wouldn't know evil unless someone taught us it. We wouldn't know Satan or Lucifer or any of those terms for bad unless we were taught those. Otherwise, we would have just thought everybody was cool, that mom and dad were cool, that the neighbor kids were cool, that everybody was cool. But we were taught that everybody was bad and either out to get us. And of course, the devil was using these people to get us. So anyway, I don't really say that so much in the book. The book is really, and can you see it? The book is about peace, love, and understanding. And by the way, I'm on Twitter at Doug Shares. I'm not as active there as I used to be. I used to write epigrams on Twitter. I did that for years, and I based the book on that work, and then a second book, which I haven't gotten around to publishing yet. But an epigram, a witticism, is something like this. Life is a gift exchange. You have gifts, I have gifts. We're exchanging those. We go to the grocery store because people have created things with their hands or with their ranch or farm, and they brought those to market for us to purchase. And by the grocery store purchasing their products, again, this is a gift exchange. It's an energy exchange. It's a God exchange. All right? That's what the law of attraction really is. And the more good you give of yourself for others, the more you get in return. I understand it doesn't seem that way sometimes, but if you're consistently on that frequency and you don't dig up the seed that you've planted, you'll see positive results. Some of the other epigrams that I wrote, if you go into the darkness to fight darkness with more darkness, it's going to be awfully hard to see. We see that in our body politic. We see that in the fights among the major religions, but really most of the fights happen within Christianity. They're the ones hating on each other most. It's kind of sad. Great expectations begin with great acceptations. Well, you know what an expectation is. What's an acceptation? Well, acceptances. So my belief is that it's all been given. It's been given from the beginning, and then we're unwrapping those gifts and discovering them as we go along. The ability to go to the moon, airplanes, ships, cars, the devices I'm using to communicate with you right now. I was born in 1961. There were television sets in 1961, and the biggest ones were about 19 inches wide. There are television sets that surpass 100 inches in every direction. The computers that we used to go to the moon were no more powerful than that of a calculator that I had in my classroom in 1979. So the information, all the good has been given, and it's up to us to discover them, and we have been. But meantime, we've been doing some other things. We've been thinking poorly. We've been judging. We've not been forgiving. And that causes the state of what you see on Facebook, on TikTok, maybe at your business or inside your church or in your neighborhood. And most of that is generated from and by fear. But what is there to fear if you knew you were inherently divine? If you were connected to your source, and it's impossible for you to be lost, no matter what anybody thinks about you. And by the way, they're not. There was a really good book written way back in 1979 called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. Terry Whitaker. Terry Cole Whitaker? I believe she was the author. It's a good book, and it's a good idea. Most people really aren't thinking about you. They're busy thinking about themselves and all the things that they've got to do. I'll share a few more of these with you. So acceptance really is what you need to master to make the law of attraction and metaphysics in general work for you. It's one of my favorite ones. The stage is set, reputation preceding, summoning the star in the seated spectator. A performance at your command, heaven's ovation standing, God's cause for applause. And I was using that I wrote that to remind myself that, we go to movies and we sit there and we watch the big screen and we see all this incredible technology, create these other worlds. And we see these actors. In terms of live theater, they step in front of a spotlight and they perform for us. And we admire that, but sometimes we get envious of it. And my thought with that particular epigram is for you to get out of your seat, step into the spotlight, and show us what you have. Because what you have is what we all have. We have inherent divinity. Now, your talents that hopefully you're developing may be and probably are different than mine. Maybe you sing. Maybe you act. Maybe you're a great nurse. Maybe you're a great scientist. Maybe you're a great doctor. Maybe you dig ditches better than anybody else. Maybe you're a good leader. Maybe you're a fantastic follower. Maybe you're a musician. I so admire people who can play the guitar. I tried to play the guitar as a child. Oh, I just hit my microphone. But my hands, here are my hands. I don't know if you can see my hands. My fingers aren't that big, and they're very soft. And so when I played the guitar, the strings would hurt them. So I gave up the guitar. I probably should pick up piano. I tried to do that maybe 25 years ago. And I wanted to play like Elton John, like within the first few weeks, which is not how it goes. So, but before I hang it all up and return to source, I do want to learn how to play an instrument. My instrument that I use most is this voice and the ability for me to think. Because a lot of people claim that this book that I wrote, You Are God's Best Idea, Divine Acceptations and Living the Undeniable Life, parts of it was channeled, that God wrote through me, because most people who know me, my mother especially, who is no longer with us, she commented when I wrote the book, she goes, I never knew you were that smart. Well, I don't know if I am, but I know God and Source is. Enlightenment is the understanding that you are the answer to your prayer. Perfectly fine to have people pray with you and for you. And it's perfectly fine for you to pray with and for others. But more often than not, the answer to your prayer is you. Think positively. Think that you are capable and able, and that you have the universe backing your dreams. Because dreams aren't meant to be followed. They're meant to be followed through. And it's the following through where most of us fall short. And I'm Exhibit A. I wrote the book, and I've had access to YouTube for the last 11 years. And other than from time to time, I've not put a lot of content on there. Well, I'm going to start sharing more. I promise. Because I am the promise. I am the purpose. I am the plan. And so are you. Your purpose is for you to express the God consciousness you have. It's to share the love that you are. And by doing that consistently, you will be in a better mood. You'll feel pretty good. And guess what? People will want to do things for you, even without you asking. For an example, I had an operation, a pretty serious one, back in March of 2021. It was to repair an iliac artery aneurysm in my gut. They had to cut me wide open. I was down and out for months because of it. But during that period of time, we did a, what do they call those, where they do fundraisers? There's a word, it's escaping me. But we had friends and family and acquaintances from all over the globe giving me and my family money so we could pay the bills, so I could pay the medical bills, and so we could move from Louisiana back to Central Ohio. 3 times I asked for monetary contributions via GoFundMe, and people who didn't know me well came through. Those who knew me well came through. People I've known since I was 5 years old, my family, and so on and so forth. And they certainly were all praying for me. Plant those seeds and think good thoughts, because you are the boss of your thoughts. Hire the good ones, fire the bad ones. Our brain is, it's just firing all the time. And occasionally we get triggered and bad thoughts pop in our heads. We don't have to own those, because after all, we are, most of how we act and respond to things are subconscious. And you download all this information, all this data from the news, from social media, and we download it and we get triggered. But it is our response ability to not get us off center. That's up to you. You're gifted with all of this talent and all of this power and ability, but it's your responsibility to do good with it and to do no harm. There's a lot of harm being done on TikTok. Yes, I go there. It's kind of fun. But it's amazing that there are people on there that are suggesting things that we figured out about 600 years ago. But they swear it's still true. I'll let you figure out what I'm talking about. I would rather set sail upon the uncharted seas of possibility than row across the pond of probability. So we don't know what the end is going to be other than we're going to return the source. But for our 75, 80, 85, 90 years that we have on planet Earth, I mean, you can kind of stick to yourself and stay in a room and, you know, not put yourself out there, not dance the light fantastic, be a wallflower. And it's okay if that's who you really are and that's who you want to stay. But the seas of possibility are out there too. And it's when you step into the middle of the room. It's when you chart the seas and you step out and into the spotlight that we get to see and experience and benefit from you, the spark of the divine that expresses through you. And it doesn't all have to be in a day. Learn how to play an instrument. Sit down at a computer and start writing with good thoughts in mind. You might be amazed at what comes through you. It could be something that changes the world, or at least changes your life. By the way, I'm reading the back cover of the book. This is just the back cover. Stop chasing your dreams. They haven't run away. Yeah. Your dreams are not out there. They're in here. But they unfold from you, through you, and as you. All right? So, you know, I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm doing this, and I should have been doing it all along. But I got caught up in, you know, what my regular work was, which was radio broadcasting, a radio personality, introducing Elton John records, and being an operations manager, a program director, music director, promotions director, and morning show guy. I was doing that to pay the bills. I was surviving more than thriving. This is what makes me thrive. This is what makes a difference. So your dreams start where you are. And I know I used the metaphor about, you know, sailing the seas of possibility. That, again, that is meant to say that don't let the distance between you and your dream keep you from taking the first step, because it's all right here. Didn't God and or Jesus say the kingdom is at hand, as close as your breath and within? I was watching on TikTok the other day. There was this fellow who kept trying to separate Jesus from me. And he was using some passages to do that. And I said, I thought Jesus said, ye are gods and children, that ye are gods and children of the Most High. and that the kingdom is within and at hand. Well, he didn't like that. And he blocked me. I was blocked by a Bible-believing Christian who was simply quoting Bible verses. The kingdom is at hand and within, and as close as your breath. That's what I believe. I believe it's self-evident. And it's in the Bible. Going through life miserable makes as much sense as going to school to study truancy. All right, is that pretzel logic? I think it makes sense. We're going through this school known as life, and many of us are miserable, or at least we act that way or suggest that we are. That's like going to school to learn the subject of truancy. Makes no sense. Okay? So don't worry, be happy. Your life will not be measured by treasures acquired, but by the love you've inspired. You know, I've got some material things. I've got a few things like that. But, you know, I've got a bed. I've got a nice roof over my head. I've got a car from 2010. I've got a computer from 2007, which is why this isn't as clear as it should be. I am going to get a computer so I can look better on this stream, on this video. Which means you'll be able to see me clearly here. That's not a word, is it? Which might not be a good thing, all right? So I'm looking at the back of this book, and this is what it says at the bottom in my introduction. It says, Douglas Holzmeier is a mystic, motivational speaker, life coach, and radio personality who writes about peace, love, and understanding. His first book, You Are God's Best Idea, Divine Acceptations and Living the Undeniable Life, is inspired by and written for my son, Daniel. Daniel is now 30. He was 18 when I wrote the book. I gave him a copy of it on his graduation day. So it's inspired by and written for my son Daniel and all who choose to accept their inherent divinity. If you knew you were God's best idea, if you knew you were inherently divine and there was no separation between the love you are and the love God is love, says it in the Bible over and over again. God used love to create you. And that creation is love. If you knew that and you could embrace that and accept that, no matter what anybody's ever said about you, could you begin to love yourself by using the love God gave you? And that is you because God is inside of you. Love yourself with the love that you are, and the love that you are is the love God is. And you can use God's love to love God because it's all one thing. It's all love. It's all God. Now, things can appear differently. People behave horribly. And I've done that. I'm not doing that at this moment. And this is when I'm centered. So when I'm centered, I'll get in front of this camera and this microphone and this board that you can't see with these headphones on. And I will share with you the good news that you are God's best idea. That includes Jesus. It includes the prophets. It includes the saints. And I'm going to, I'll do a deep dive. But in the meantime, if you'd like to get the book, you can get it for $9.99 on, at Amazon.com via Kindle. You can also buy it at BalboaPress.com. If you want to help me, buy it through BalboaPress.com because that way the middleman, which is Amazon.com, they don't get a piece of it. Not that I have anything against Amazon.com. But if you want to buy my book, the hard copy is kind of expensive because I put too many words in this book. It's 300 pages long. So the hard copy is like $37. The paperback version's $22, I think. You can also get used copies out there. But if you just want to get the Kindle copy, it's $9.99 at Amazon. I think it's $7.99 at balboapress.com. And very soon I'm going to link a Patreon page. So if you'd like to help my work of getting out the good news about inherent divinity, you'll be able to support my passion via my Patreon page, which actually, I think it actually does exist. It's patreon.com/Douglas Holzmeier. It's my name, DouglasHolzmeier. Patreon.com/Douglas Holzmeier. So if you want to go there now and help out, that's fantastic. You're divine and important. You're needed and necessary. You're loved in the beloved. You are God's best idea. Don't forget that. All right. And I'm going to be here many days of the week, at least every week, every month, and hopefully for years to come, to keep reminding you that you're the best thing God ever created. There's nobody above you and there's nobody below you. God gave you what he gave the saints, what he gave his son Jesus. Because Jesus said, you shall do the things that I have done and even greater. Why would he say that if he didn't know that we could perform miracles with God, through God, as God? Jesus said, why do you call me good? Only my Father in heaven is good. If that doesn't illustrate that the focus is the God self that we all have, that Jesus knew and expressed with all those miracles and with all those wonderful things that he shared with us that we get to relive via the New Testament. But you don't have to be a subscriber to the New Testament to understand that you are inherently divine. I don't care what your spiritual path is, but my path is oneness. It's all here and now, as Ram Dass said. Be here now. Be here now. Love yourself. Love others with the love you are. All right, I'm done preaching for today. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. I'm Douglas Holzmeier, and you are God's best idea.